are the Kansas City Chiefs a dynasty? When you think about dynasties in football, anyway, you think of maybe the Cowboys, maybe the Cowboys of what, the '90s. You think of the Patriots, maybe their entire long run. You think of maybe what am I thinking of? The San Francisco 49ers. Those were a few of those teams that come to mind. Would you say that the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty?
I would, what I would say, Jay, is I think it's time for us to redefine our definition of dynasty,
Okay.
and I say that because every era is different, and you got the free agency, you got a whole bunch of things that are a lot, and all the money that these quarterbacks are making, the way the game is played, the rules, different things like that, all factor into, think about it. Years ago, it was easier to keep a team together.
True.
You weren't paying the quarterbacks all this money. You gave the money to the running backs. You kept everybody happy, and you just kept it moving. Now, and also with the rules changes, the way the game was played, can't touch anybody out there. There's different rules for the wide receivers, and in this era, I would say it's harder because they're doing everything they can to make it where it's the playing field is even, right?
Right.
So in an era when they're doing everything they possibly can to try to have parity, and you got a team that's been to 6 AFC championships in a row, been in 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, have won 2 already, 2-1. If they win a third, regardless of how many in a row or anything like that, if they win a third Super Bowl in the last 5 years, I mean, we're seeing stuff. I mean, we saw how tough it was on New England. New England, they had one repeat in their run, and they won a 10-year span without a Super Bowl. Yeah. This is a team, like I said, it's setting themselves up. That might be too early to call them a dynasty, but I'd be doggone if it's not dynasty light. I mean, maybe less calories, but this thing is moving in the right direction. And like I said, when you start putting up these type of numbers and appearances and stuff like that, man, this is a dynasty. And the thing is, I don't see an end to it anytime soon. I'm not saying they're going to be there every single year, but who's to say if they clip this one off and then they don't get there next year, but then you can count on, as long as Andy Reid is there, and we know Andy he's not probably going to be there for the next 15 years, but let's say he's there next 3 to 5, and they clip off another 1 or 2 or 3. We're getting into the area of not just dynasty, but we're going to have to start ramping our talk up about Mahomes in his place in history already. So at 28, like I said, 6 AFC championships for the young man. He's getting ready to go to his 4th Super Bowl already. He wins this one at age 28 and starts, he's got 3 under his belt. Like I said, this is a dynasty because, like I said, we're not seeing this anywhere else. And like I said, because of the changing landscape of the game and how tough it is, I mean, these dudes are definitely showing out, man.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that it's a dynasty, even if they don't win even if they don't get back to another AFC championship game again. This has been a dynasty, but hopefully it does. The challenge, you mentioned how things were different, especially let's say in the 80s with the 49ers, for example, right? How the salary cap just devastated them because they would just pay everybody. That's the way it was. We can just keep everybody. It's not really a big deal. So the salary cap definitely changed the playing field. But here's something that I just wonder. We've seen in especially in basketball and football where maybe you have a good draft and you can survive off of that draft for a while until the players either start to break down or they maybe start to retire or whatever that is. It's going to be important for, if they want to continue to sustain and maintain this, that they're going to have to not just, we'll find somebody in the 6th or 7th round or the 5th round. You got to make every draft pick count if you're trying to give the offensive weapons to Patrick Mahomes and continue to do whatever you can to keep this defense as stout as it's been this season.
Yeah, and the other thing you look at, Jay, every year there's you got 14 teams that make the playoffs. I think something like there's 6 new names every season. So there's
Yeah.
turnover.
Yep.
But there's one thing you can do every year. You mark, it's almost like in pen. You just put it at the top of, when you're filling out your bracket, the NCAA bracket, your team that you want to win it, right? You
Yeah.
just stamp them all the way from blah, blah, blah. And then you go back and fill everything else in. At this point, this number of consecutive years, it's like you see the change all the time. You got these new teams in the playoffs, making it to there's one constant denominator every single year. It's these doggone Kansas City Chiefs. So, and as you mentioned, like with the salary cap and anything like that, somehow they figured it out where other teams can't. They able to pay Mahomes, and he took, I don't know necessarily a friendly deal, but he probably took a little less than he probably could have gotten. And they still maintain. Here's the other thing we forget. It was just a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They let Tyreek Hill go, and we were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just, and boom, here they are. They won a chip, and they're trying to get another one. And that's the sign of it right there. We saw the Patriots for years. Every year they were flip-flopping dudes, and it's like, how could you let him go? And there they were again, that type of thing. So they're starting to show that sign of it. All we need is some of these mainstay pieces. Now we all know Kelsey's getting a little up there. It's be hard to replace him. But if they, a few years from now, he, whether it's next year or the year after, and he walks away from the game, and they find another one or develop somebody in that position, that's when you know something's up.
Yeah.